funds from the Department of Safety for the bridge. Mr. Coombs will come forward and speak.
You know, officially open the hearing.
Yeah, we'll open the hearing on this. We need to have a little hearing.
The state has given us a grant for, so typically we have the highway block grants that we get on a quarterly basis, and because they're a recurring thing, we don't need to have a hearing for those, but we did get a bridge block grant in the amount of $111,558. So we have to have a hearing to accept that as unanticipated funds. The intention is this will be the 10% that we would have to pay on the Main Street Bridge project that we're currently going through the process with FEMA to replace that bridge, make it wider, and hopefully alleviating flooding on Great Pond. And then any remainder of this will be used for guardrail work and improvement on the old Coach Road Bridge. The guardrail on there, or two of the guardrails are pretty banged up. And potentially on the Janie Mill Bridge. But the bulk of it, we spent about $17,000 thus far on preliminary engineering, design, and drawings for the Main Street Bridge. The anticipated total cost of that project is $1.1 million, so we have to come up with about $90,000, so this should be the bulk of this, if you so choose to accept this.
What's the estimated date to do the work?
So we're still going through the process. We had a teleconference with FEMA about 2 weeks ago, just reviewing our application and making sure that everything was in line. There were some concerns that our engineering firm addressed, and we're just waiting on an award of that.
So you think it'll happen this year? Anybody have any questions?
The only thing I would ask though is because it's dated, looks like the check is going to be dated December 22nd, December 2024. We have to encumber them, or is it too late, or how do we roll that over?
So typically, block grants are in an account all their own.
Okay.
As long as they're used for the intended purposes, then.
I can't get a close account.
Any public comment? Looks like none. Take a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Discussion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Let's take the vote first, Ken.
To close it?
Close it.
Aye.
We got it.
Bye-byes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the funds from the state of New Hampshire, the amount of $111,558.52 for bridge maintenance and repair.
Second.
Second by Chris. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Noes, abstentions, motion carries. Thank you.
I'd like to take a second to thank Phil, because I know he's been working on this tirelessly. I know there's some deadlines, I've been doing late nights, getting signatures, and getting this out, so thank you.
Thank you. Next is the Solar Committee. Tell us when to face you and when to face the screen.
Put marriage or something in front of you, so you can do that. For the record, I'm Rick Russman. I chair the solar committee, and actually quite a few members here, Kevin and Ellie are on it, and Dan, and Glenn on it as well. Anyway, long story short, it's been kind of a longish road to get to here, where we are, and we looked at a bunch of sites. We eventually thought the high school would be the best place for on the roof, and then it became clear from the high school that they're going to go through with an LED project, which will cut their electricity use in half, but they really don't have the bandwidth to do a project like this right now, and which convention might be great because it would be behind the meter, most of the usage would be as far as electricity, which is important. But anyway, be that as it may, we looked at a lot of other sites, and the fire station, which, as you might remember, in the early renderings actually showed pictures of solar panels as it turned out on the firehouse. And Rachel's been able to get up on the roof there with the chief and check it out, and they came to the solar committee with a proposal that would cover about 2/3 of the use of the energy and electricity that the fire department uses at this point. That is not to say that might actually increase, because obviously as they get the building commissioned and get it, kind of straightened out as far as all the different systems that they've got going, it may increase from there. And so revision is I'll see those right at the street here, and they're actually doing they're doing the one at the county, and interestingly enough, the one at the county that Revision's doing is 5 megawatts, which is the same size that Unitil is going to be hopefully putting in down here. So it's as big a system as is allowed that the county is going to actually be having put in. And so what we're hoping here tonight is that Rachel will, and she's from Revision, and James is going here somewhere.
Doing slides for
And James Hasselbeck, who lives in town here, might answer some questions, but hopefully, what seems to make sense here is that if we put it on the fire station and cover that, of what it would actually use, it's fire station at this point is the biggest energy user in the town, even though it's new, and like I say, hopefully that will go down a bit as time goes on and we get more commissioning done on it and get the working right. But, and from there, I guess we could turn it over to you as far as the costs and that kind of stuff. And then I'd like to just talk about the money, because obviously it's all about money and where that's going to come from, and obviously how they're coming to weigh in here, and they feel it's important for them to weigh in, so,
Yeah.
So I guess you should look at the screen.
I'll welcome here. As Rick mentioned, my name is Rachel. I'm here from Revision Energy, along with James Hasselbeck, Kingston resident, and also our Director of Operations. And I suppose I just want to take the next 5 minutes to bring everyone in the room up to speed on where we've gotten to with the Solar Committee. So this will be old news to the Solar Committee and to you guys who've been along the journey with us. But just to show you what we're talking about at the fire department, and then talk about the numbers. Can you hear me? So as Rick mentioned, being here today, and thank you guys for your time, but it's the result of many months of hard work by the Solar Committee and by you guys who sit on that committee. I was pleased to get to meet everyone all the way back earlier this summer, between May and July. We went through the RFQ, request for qualifications process, to choose a vendor, through those interviews, and then the next phase was about researching the project and all the different sites in town, properties, buildings, to narrow in on the project we selected, which, as Rick mentioned, is the fire department. So after vetting a number of properties and the opportunities realistically on hand for the town at this time, the fire department is your best opportunity, and the recommendation that we've brought, along with the work of the committee, to you guys here today. So that's what I'm going to spend my time talking about. And my lovely assistant James, go to the next slide. This is an aerial shot of the new fire department building. Hopefully people here have gotten a chance to swing by. It's absolutely beautiful. When I was in it, they had the sleighs all prepped for Christmas, which is kind of cool. But the roof is also beautiful from a solar perspective. A brand new building is a great time to install solar, and has a couple of different sections. So you'll see there 99 panels will be located on the flat section of the roof. So the white section of the roof is completely flat, whereas the kind of gray looking part to the right is pitched. So the remaining 23 panels will be flush mounted to that pitched section on the south and southwest facing sides. So in total, we're talking 122 solar panels, which is 56.7 kilowatts worth of solar, and one inverter, which will be located in the utility room in the basement. I'll go to the next slide. So just so you guys can get an image of what this looks like, I've just thrown up a couple examples of previous installs of those two types. So this is what an install looks like on a flat roof. The panels are ballasted, so they sit on top of the roof and don't penetrate it, which is great because you guys have a fresh new roof warranty on there from Goodyear. And then the next slide shows some pitched roof arrays. So as you can see, they're flush mounted, so whatever pitch and orientation the building is at, which on the fire department, we have a nice south-facing aspect as well as a few panels on that southwest area. These are just some good what the inverters look like. Again, the remaining piece of equipment that's sort of key to a solar system. They're rated for indoor or outdoor, but again, because this is a brand new building, we have lots of space in the utility room in the basement. The major components of the solar system carry a 25-year warranty for the panels, the racking. So this is a very long-term investment, and we consider the commercial lifespan to be more like 40 years. The inverters have a shorter warranty because they're really the workhorse of the system. So in the cash flow that we'll talk through, I've modeled in one replacement of those about halfway through. As Rick alluded to, the production will be significant for the building, offsetting nearly 2/3 of the station's kilowatt-hour usage. So this is, this graph here, I should just note, the dark blue lines show the facility consumption. It's based off of 5 months of actual data that we have, and then using those to extrapolate out the remaining months, because it's a brand new building. We don't have 12 months of data yet. And the orangey yellow bars are the solar production. So you can see solar follows a bit of a bell curve, lots of production in the summer months where you have long daylight hours, less so in the winter. Our New England weather is also modeled in here. It's using a 30-year data set for your location. So things like snow cover in the winter is already modeled in, and that's why you see production lower in the winter months. So on average, oh sorry, James, go back one second, just to say that the generation expected from this array is over 60,000 kilowatt hours a year, compared to just under 100,000 in the facility usage. And again, like we'll know that for sure as the building keeps going and we get more and more utility bills, but significant offset of the town's largest electricity user. And for this last section, I know the numbers look small, apologies, audience are coming up here, but I'll just hand out the numbers that we're going to be on the next slide, so you guys can scribble it. Just a summary. So get into the good stuff, which is the financials behind this. So this project costs $178,000 to install. That's including all allowances for things like utility upgrades, which we don't anticipate needing. So that's how much it costs to build, which would be the upfront costs needed from the town. But it's not, at the end of the day, what the town would have to pay because of two separate incentives, one from the federal government, one from the state government. The big one is the federal investment tax credit. And as you may know, municipalities are exempt from taxes, but one of the key benefits of the Inflation Reduction Act, which was passed in August, is that the federal government is extending the tax credit to non-tax entities like nonprofits, municipalities, etc. So that is a new program, and it's called Direct Pay. It's basically directly paying the tax credit to non-taxed entities, and it's for 30% of project cost.
Can I just ask, when you say turnkey system cost, that's us buying it outright, no leasing, that's just us buying it?
You are the owner, yep.
Okay.
And everything, design, permitted, interconnected, installed, commissioned, the full package. And you are the owner, which is great because you get all the benefits directly. Great question though. So that $53,436 is 30% of the total project cost, so that would come as a rebate from the federal government. And finally, there's a modest New Hampshire state rebate, which is 20 cents per watt of AC size, but it's capped at 10,000, so you guys would hit the 10,000 cap. So after those rebates come in, the net investment for the town of Kingston is $114,684. On to the next slide. So what does that mean in terms of payback and rate of return? I've modeled two scenarios here that are basically the bookends, because a lot of the rate of return and payback years depends on what utility prices do. So in the first most conservative scenario, I've taken your current supply rate, which is about 7 cents, which when you go to renew it, I mean, we've seen large customers renewing for 13, 14, 15 cents. But let's just say you have that 7 cents for the rest of time, it would be about a 14-year payback, versus if we looked at just current Unitil rates today, it would be about 8 years. In reality, it's probably gonna land somewhere between the two, probably closer to 8 years payback. Either way, you're looking at rates of return between 6% and 13%, and savings well into 6 figures for the town over both the 25-year warranty and the 40-year commercial lifespan. And just one other way to show that is looking at that lifetime of the project. A solar purchase, even taking into account the cost of the project up front, paying it back, over that time, solar is your most cost-effective form of electricity because your supply is always free. Sunshine is $0. So that's even in the most conservative scenario, we're saying, okay, starting with our current utility rate, 2.5% escalation is the average of the last 40 years. Even then, you're looking at about 60% cheaper electricity over that time period. And if you take current rates, even more so, up to 80, 90% cheaper. And not to mention the environmental benefits, which we won't spend too much time talking about, but remembering that, of course, those benefits to health and well-being in the Kingston community are in addition to the direct financial benefits to the town.
So if I'm reading correctly, in 25 years, we get our return on investment? Right, is that what I'm saying? It's going to cost us $114,000 to put it in, and we'll recoup that money at the 25-year mark of $111,000?
No, you'll recoup it a lot sooner than that. You'll recoup it in 14 years in the worst case scenario, and then on top of that, you'll save an additional $111,000 at the end of the warranty period. So you'll have recouped all of your costs, and that's including things like a slight derate of the panel production over time. So no, that net savings is after you've already paid it back, then everything you saved as well. So technically that's $225,000, but the first 114 go to paying back the cost of the system.
The important thing here also is that the $53,000 that comes from the government, that would come in the form of a check. If I was putting it up in, say, building my own, I would get a tax credit. That new Inflation Reduction Act made it so towns and nonprofits actually get a check. So we would get a check back, we get a check from the state of New Hampshire, that's why 114. And 114 is what I'm hoping you can make a decision on tonight, because obviously it would require a warrant article from the select board to put in the town warrant. And so it kind of needs to make it happen this year, obviously, otherwise you'd have to kick it down the can road for another year, and then the costs all change. But ideally, between the ARPA funds, what's left in the building fund from the firehouse, there's still money in that, ARPA, and some impact fees that the fire department could maybe kick in as well. It should cover the whole thing. So there should be essentially, we have virtually 2/3 of the fire department bill paid and no cost to the taxpayers, which is not a bad deal. So, questions, I guess.
On that included allowances, did you say that includes like the mid-life cycle system replacement for the, is it the inverter or the solar charge controller? You said there was one piece that you factor may have to be replaced midstream.
Yeah, so in those savings and kind of long-term projections, I've included the cost of replacing the inverter one time.
Are there any maintenance costs associated? I know you talked about those calculations in there for snow cover. Are people randomly going to have to go clear snow, and these things, as it collects, produces enough heat to melt the snow off? Self-heated?
Yeah, great question. And we definitely don't recommend chief sending any of your staff into the roof with brooms to clean it up. Because they're pitched and the surface is glass, it will slide off. As you mentioned, the panels are glass, they'll heat up in the sun. I know my own panels on my house, usually within a day, they're pretty much clear of snow. But again, we've modeled them, they're gonna sit under snow cover. Hopefully if we ever get some snow in our New England winters again. So no, we wouldn't want to put any staff or risk of damaging the panels with brooms, things like that. So you can kind of, I like to say set it and forget it, but then operations teams get mad at me. But I think in terms of operations and maintenance, you have the workmanship warranty for 5 years, and then we do operations and maintenance contracts, so if that was of interest to the town, we certainly set that up. But one of the great things about solar is because there's no moving parts, there is very little that needs to be maintained, and you'll also have the monitoring system available to you, so if you notice one of our panels isn't producing like the other ones are, you'd call us up and let us know.
And what are some of the services that would be covered under the operations and maintenance contract, if that was something that the officers
Yeah, good question. And James, feel free to speak to this more, but there are different levels. Basically, you can choose.
On an annual basis, it's a visual inspection by licensed electrician, about 2 hours work, just up there making sure that everything looks good. So it's primarily labor cost, and then if the town so chose, we can do remote monitoring of the system just to give you reports and whatnot. So those costs actually we model them in to these finances. So in that 25-year net savings, that includes, it's like a few $100 a year to have an electrician come down from Brother and take a look at it. That's not required, but we recommend it.
One's on my office, I've had them on there probably for 10 years, but since it's just there, just paying up, just generating electricity. Pretty good. And because the office is open during the day, that's when the sun's out, so it's kind of nice. Pays for anything. Relatively maintenance free.
Yeah, I mean, I've installed some on an Expedition camper that I have, and I don't even know what I'm doing, and they're pretty maintenance free.
Like Rachel said, what breaks is the inverters. They'll be replaced in the lifespan of the system.
Do you know where they can sit on that roof?
As far as the structural analysis, yes.
You know that?
We haven't done a full PE stamp yet, but the same general contractor who built the fire station, we've worked with on multiple other projects, and the additional dead load on the flat roof is between 4 and 5 pounds on top of the snow load. And when I took a quick look at the plans, we have that capacity. But that would be in the initial part of our, if the town wanted to review, we would do that review with a third-party structural engineer to confirm that before moving forward.
Because that was my comment from the beginning, is it's a brand new firehouse, and you put these up there and then we have a roof leak, who gets blamed? Because I assume the building's under warranty for a while.
The building warranty changed.
So I don't know if the engineer and the contractor need to approve anything that we do during that warranty.
It's actually the roofing manufacturer who approves the solar array, and we've worked very closely with the same roofing manufacturer. We'll send a third-party inspector before we start, and then after we finish to confirm that the warranty remains exactly the same as it is today.
But I feel like the building contractor and the building engineer need to give their approval before we do anything.
That would be the truth.
I would just say I appreciate the work and revisions done for the committee and everything. I know how we brought you, because as the senator will tell you, I only wish we could generate, because that's where everything, the rubber meets the road, and we can't do that at this point. So I know how we got to from using the landfill to the fire station building. My concern right now is the budget. And I want to pursue it further. I think the time frame isn't there. I am really concerned about using ARPA funds that last until 2025, and the return on investment, I'm hoping something can happen in the state where we can do generation and do something. I'm just not there right now to do a vote for this ballot season for March. I'm not. Okay, I want to, I was on board with this 100%, I still am. I just think the time frame is too tight right now. My focus is on the budget.
I would throw on that, the fact is that if you can, I think it's a large enough amount that townspeople all that say, and it's something that the selectmen should just say, let's go to improvements. So I think if you get one out for that would be good, because I'm not in favor of taking our funds or other kinds of funds right now to do this particular project, which it's nice to do, and I'm not against it, but just again, the funding part of it. I think that we don't, with the other funds, we've been saying all along, that we've got a project going out there, and it's it's an emergency type thing, this is nice to have. So I would only say that you can do it as a warrant article, it's creative people, and if they want it for them.
My guess is, I think the people get it, it's almost like the street light, but they get it, they get some federal money to save some energy as well. So my sense is they probably would be okay with it. I think, and I don't know what's left in the building fund over there at the firehouse.
So we're the building fund, we're going back towards the call and the trustees, to try to finalize what we have left. So at this point, rough numbers are guessing close to 100,000. We're still trying to finalize a few things, but that's it.
Which would almost essentially pay for it, it's in the building fund, so it's not, again, what would be taken out of ARPA would be a relatively small amount of money, and I'm not even sure if there's enough impact fees there, that between what's in there and the impact fees, there wouldn't be any touch. I mean, the issue would be, putting something forward and then figuring out, really, we know there's enough money there. The issue is what pot do you take it? And ideally, it should come out of the building fund at first, because that's the one that's sitting there that will be taken. If the chief can part with some of the impact fees, that might make the difference if it comes up to it. It did by 114,000. The ARPA funds probably would be a very negligible amount of money to actually have to take. But, so I mean, from that perspective, and the problem, Kendall, problem what you're suggesting, the idea, if we wait till some time, let's suppose, whenever it could be, 5 years or 10 years, who knows when it might be that we could actually put something in the landfill. It may be to the point where the town can't afford to just buy it. And we would again have to back into these situations. At least this one here, we're really in control of it. But everything is coming back to us. It's not like going to a third party that somebody else.
I'm not looking to buy this. I'm looking probably 2024. Okay, I just want to put a lot. Because that 100,000 left over could go back and buy down the lawn. Just because it's there doesn't mean we should spend it. That's my thing. I just think we should hold on, move forward, but not do it this year, and see what the budget looks like, how it goes to the voters and everything else, and where we're at next year, and then look at the funds. Are the funds committed? Do we buy down the lawn with 100,000 or put it back in the general fund? I'd rather have those choices after we know what happens in March. I really would. I'm on board with it. But I just think time is too fast. We don't know what's going to happen, and the budget's high.
We also don't know what's going to happen with the budget, so if the budget goes to default budget, we're going to need every dollar we can find anywhere. And I also think it's a very large amount of money not to take to the voters. That they ought to have a say in it. Would you rather have 100,000 back to pay off the bond and drop your taxes, or do you want to spend it long-term investment on solar?
Right.
I'm for the project, I'm just not sure our timing's right.
Yeah, that's a totally fair set of concerns. Rachel and I's job has been at the request of the select board, with the support of the solar committee, is to evaluate every single potential solar property in the town of Kingston. We've worked pretty hard to do that over an 8-month time with no commitment and no cost to the town. And we found that in the near term, if the town wanted to do something in 2023, this is the best option that provides the best return on investment for the taxpayers with minimal, if any, additional tax, maybe none. I think how the town spends its money It's certainly not our job to tell you. This is what happens here. Kevin, I can tell you legislatively, nothing is going to change in a 24-month time.
There's no LSI when I looked at it, no, that's disappointing.
I agree.
And I want to say, I echo some of the other board members' concerns. I've only been a selectman for a couple months, and I told people I could not have picked a worse time to volunteer for this job heading into this budget season.
Oh, that's all I got.
And it is difficult, and I think just not knowing, because if we don't pass this budget, at every dollar mark of funds, and we're gonna need to be able to buy down bond balances and everything else, and I agree with Kevin, and I agree with Chuck, Rich and Ellie, it is a scary right now, and I love the idea of the project. Like I said, I dabbled in solar myself because I thought it was so interesting and neat and a really great concept. And it's something I think that we could probably, really entertain next year, but I also wouldn't feel comfortable unless it went before a, complete town vote that the taxpayers decided they wanted to fund this fully. But I love the project. I just think the timing is.
That's a really fair perspective. I guess one other context to be aware of. Many of our neighboring towns have made different decisions in this same time frame because of their belief that with the anticipated continued increase in electricity rates, like every single person in this room is experiencing, and our taxpayers will inevitably experience, I think we've doubled our energy budgets in every single town department. This is a hedge against an uncontrollable major cost driver. So again, it's up to this group to determine how to best spend the town's money. Many of our neighboring towns have viewed this as actually a safe investment in the near term to hedge against future continued utility.
I guess my point of view, I'm not ready to say no tonight, but I'm not ready to say yes either. I think I want to let it sink in and look at a little bit of the numbers and some of the stuff to see, talk to the fire department, see what's left, what the effect would be if we give the money back to the bond, or if we don't, what's left in the impacts. I'm guessing not much, because they pretty much wiped out the impact fees before going to bond, I believe.
Just think if we had picked up the solar alternate on the construction budget for the fire station, it would be paid for and operating right now.
I agree, I would like to even see hot water out there and everything else too, but that wasn't enough.
So that was a decision we did not make at the time to save some money, and perhaps we would have made a different decision then, knowing what we know.
And so I do agree with Rich. I'm not ready to say no right now, but I do think if we were to go forward, if any type of warrant article were to go forward, we want it to be fully funded and appropriated at the decision of the taxpayer. I wouldn't want to commit any ARPA funds to it, because if our budget doesn't pass, all the ARPA funds we have remaining are probably going to be needed to run the town next year without indexation and services or personnel.
We're looking at right now to see how much time we have before the select board can put in a warrant. I don't want you all to leave here thinking that this board is not supportive of solar. That's not the case at all. And this community as a whole is very supportive of reducing a carbon footprint. There is absolutely no question in my mind that that's the case. I hope we can appreciate our reticence only because of the financial concerns we have with the town. And it seems like small money, but it's not. It's not small money. It's good money in our pockets if we do it right. And that's our intent to do that. I'm still mad at the school for putting in LED lights, but that isn't how the board can do that. But that's another discussion for another day. Because it was a bigger project when we first got going, so I don't know what the date is for the
January 14th is the hearing, so it has to be in before the 14th.
So we have to make a decision to do it sometime this week.
This week, it has to be this week. That's it, selectmen to put in my follow we have a long date for the selectmen, not just a petition. So if we decide that we can do something, we should.
There would probably just have to be another public hearing.
That's correct, that's correct.
If we had decided to have one.
Yes.
A lot of the warrant articles being heard this Saturday, it's this Saturday. So if we do that,
Yeah, we'll be in for the Saturday. Plenty of public hearing for anything to put in.
guess we'll put our brains together and see what.
Yeah, we gotta come up with some appropriate language. I don't think there's anything we can come up with tonight.
And that's fine, so what we can do is Rachel can share an electronic, we have the hard copies here, Rachel can and will share an electronic copy with Susan of this presentation, including the longer, we call it protocol, but it's the more detailed financial metrics that drive these high-level summary numbers. And then maybe the Selectmen and other groups could take a look at funding sources. If you want us to provide template warrant article language, we've done this hundreds of times with New Hampshire municipalities, we're happy to. And if this is not the year, we hear very clearly the reasoning why and the desire of the board, and we appreciate the support that we've had from the committee over the past several months.
I know it's an enormous job of putting this information together, because it has involved a solar array on top of the landfill to where we have a solar panel on top of the fire station. So the committee has done enormous work in developing and researching the issue of doing due diligence and looking at other opportunities throughout town. Solar is not done in Kingston by any stretch of the imagination, so I don't want you to be discouraged, especially my friend Mr. Russell over here. I don't want you to be discouraged, because it's not over. It is not over.
And I love the fact that the company's local. I love the fact that your business model is based off of your employees being part of that business structure.
You say the committee, but I mean, it really came down to the vision. You guys worked diligently fast and got us as quick as you could. You changed things based on, you found was the best option. So I appreciate the working relationship that the committee had with the vision. I really do, because
So we also need. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, Police Chief Joe Johnson. Use your outside voice. Use your outside voice.
All right, on January 6th, I sent
Thank you.
January 6th, I sent the select board an email of an opportunity for me to get a second cruiser due to the shortage. Did everybody have a chance to read that?
Yep.
Are there any questions on it?
I did, so I gave you a call, chief, and I kind of talked to you about it. I definitely understand the difficulties that all police departments are having, just trying to get cruises and stuff now. I think this is another kind of like the last hearing, the timing of this.
It's time, it's time.
It's time.
It's on.
Here we are, we just voted with the budget committee,
Understood.
to put forward a budget, and, you know, at this point in time, something like that would have been something more appropriate for us to advocate in the budget. And my concern is if we went forward in any way, shape, or form with ARPA funds or anything right now, I understand there's a potential exigency, but we haven't hit that emergency time yet. I think by trying to put in a second cruiser at this point, I think we can alienate members of the budget committee. And I worry that we can also alienate the public that just watched us go through the budget committee process.
Right.
So, well, I absolutely, because I get it, if the cruiser goes out of service right now, just even getting parts and stuff, you could be experiencing weeks-long delays and, you know, getting that.
Did you see the memo from my sergeant?
I didn't.
It's in the PO. Cruiser 3 was making a grinding noise in the rear end. They thought it was coming from the axle. It turned out it was not that bad, it was only the rear brakes. But the previous owner was inspecting it, and they realized that the rear rotors are being down where they're gonna need to be replaced soon. That being said, the rotors are gonna they can take up to 6 to 8 months to get, because the Ford's behind and everything. Everything, there's a shortage in everything. And if you look at that PO in there, there's another part that is still on back order from back in June 22. It's the rear axle bolt that they have a recall on. and I'm still waiting for that to come in. So my fear is if I lose a car, then we're gonna have problems responding, because I'm not gonna have cars. The patrol cars. So I'm just trying to get ahead of the game, because of the situation I get in with the Pony and McGovern over in Framingham. I reached out to the outfitters who helped me locate a cruiser for purchase in probably 2 weeks, and I'll have the money for that. With that being said, McGovern, they called me back and they text me back saying, emailed me back, and they made a claim that the car is still coming. So I kind of have 2 cars now, but I gotta tell one from the other that I can't buy it, if we can't buy it. So I just came in today to see if there was any solution, any possibilities. I mean, I'm really good at taking no for an answer. That's the thing about me. But the answer's no until they ask.
And as I said, so I want to hear from the rest of the board, but this is one of those situations, you know, I've definitely been behind you on these other life safety issues and stuff that have come up in emergencies and using ARPA fund. I just think with us going into probably the most difficult budget sell that this town has seen in a long time.
I agree.
I think throwing something like that in there right now, it would just, I think it would appear disingenuous to the voters and the people that we're working with.
I'm not trying to get into my budget.
Yeah.
I'm not at all. 100% didn't enter my mind. It was an option. I know it was an option, but never once, even in this email, never asked it to go into the budget. Okay, that's another issue I'd like to discuss in non-public at some point tonight, if we can.
I do appreciate you hustling and finding the 2 cruisers, but we're for one, that's what I really think we should, because the cruisers are there, it's all missing parts, they're all missing parts. It's chip issues and part issues. So the cruisers will be available when the time is, when the parts are made.
I'm not convinced, but, you know.
Well, there's 2 arguments.
There's an 18-month delay to get a car. I checked upon that out today, okay, so when's that? That's next June?
But a lot of people think that's gonna go away when we go into this recession we're headed towards, that everything's gonna catch up.
It's possible.
Some people say it's gonna get worse, so, you know, that's
Right.
what
Well, I'm just trying to have a little safety net so that I have these spare vehicles, which I would, if I was able to get that second one, I would get it because it's available, and that's stored in my garage, okay? And I'll leave it there until we need it. I wouldn't put any miles on it, but at least I'd have the insurance to say, I've got another car in case one goes down. Because we went through 4 accidents last year. 3 of them were not our fault. The one that was our fault was minor. The other ones, the cars were down for 2 to 3 months at a time. And that's my only fear. And so,
We appreciate you making us aware of the dilemma that you're in, and that's appropriate for you to do so. I think we're gonna all take a deep breath and go through the next 8 weeks and see what happens.
I respect that 100%.
And hey, if we hit a situation where a cruiser is online and then we have what has been deemed an emergency situation at that point, we can discuss our options then. I think until we get into, I think it's just, we can't do this after we just settle the budget. And I was very open with you about that when I talked to you.
I really didn't want to ask for it, but I've seen what's coming, I'm concerned, it's my job, the public safety, to make sure.
No, I think it's a good thing you brought it forward, because it makes us aware of a situation that we may have to deal with. You know, where if you kept it yourself and then hit us with it later, we would have said, why didn't you tell us about that?
Okay, yeah. So, well, I did, and, the non-public thing, after everything's over?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. See, I took no good note.
Next is Keith Martell. This is the land one. This is on the corner of Depot and 111.
Hi, my name is Ann Martell.
You gotta really speak up, the acoustics are bad in here.
Hi, my name is Anna Martell, and my family is a local developer. We have come across, or recently put under contract, a project located on Route 125 and 107. I think you all have a map of it now. So the pink highlighted is the 3 pieces which we have bought. The yellow is the piece which the town owns, and the orange is the right-of-way, which is given for access, so that there isn't access onto Route 125 and 107. They gave this right-of-way because the area was designed special by DOT, meant to limit access, so these parcels don't have traffic or whatever their issues were at the time, or worries, not issues. All 4 of these parcels of land, which are on the map, are served by the right-of-way. So 3 of these are under agreement, and the 4th, which the town owns, was taken by one of the other 3 owners before we had come across this. It was like some mistake paying bills that got taken back to us. We were thinking of doing some sort of multifamily, which could be condos, townhouses, apartments, etc. If we don't include the 4th piece, we need to build a town road on the right-of-way. And it seemed more logical if the right-of-way was just a private part of our development, so that there weren't worries about if there was plowing in the winter, so that all the cars that needed to be, or the area that needed to be plowed, the cars wouldn't be moved onto the town road and causing just chaos.
That was the first little speech. Thank you guys for being busy. We just, as we started looking at the project itself, it seemed like here was a logical first stop. The limited access portion of it has us building, which is fine, a town road within that 50-foot strip that runs right parallel to 125. We would sort of be required to do that if there were multiple landowners within there. If we were able to enter into some sort of acquisition of the town portion of it, then we would be able to be it discontinue or unplat, however that right-of-way was originally constructed, and make that private road starting down at 107 as opposed to a public road running the parallel frontage of 125 to serve just one neighborhood. And that's kind of why we're here. We just wanted to say hello and tell you what we're doing and see if you guys had any interest in maybe allowing that piece to go up for sale, or if we should just go up the way that we had originally.
Well, our town policy is when we sell property, it can only be sold to an abutter.
Okay.
Which, once you have this and own it,
sure,
then you might be in need or able to buy it.
Yep.
Right now, you're not the owner.
Makes sense.
And it would make us change our policy to do that. Second thing, I looked into this property, I was thinking about buying it. The right-of-way coming in is too narrow for a town road.
Okay.
And I understand that the property owner going in on the right will not give up any land to increase the size.
Right.
So what the last road agent said to do was to make it all private. But that's a decision for the current person. You know,
so the dilemma that, in terms of the width of the right-of-way, that's certainly something that we could explore through the planning process of it, be it through waiver, be it through variance, whatever the case may be. We're fortunate in that area that right-of-way coming in is very, very flat. So I understand that you guys have a requirement for a 60-foot as opposed to a 50-foot right-of-way. Where this was originally platted with the intention of that access and with the ground being such that we would not need to exceed beyond the 50-foot spread onto it. What's required to be constructed for a right-of-way fits within the 50 feet. So it's not, oftentimes we're going into heavy cuts of excavation where the slopes may go outside of that or drainage may go outside. We actually fit within that. So we're glad to, whether it's a waiver variance, I haven't made it that far into the project. I am aware of the 60-foot versus 50-foot. Our concern was more that if we built a town road there, it feels very awkward having a town road going up to serve a condominium community, what have you. She was with me a couple times when we did snow removal in a condominium community, and everybody comes out and moves their cars all at once so you can plow the parking lot. Well, they're going and putting them in the way of the road agent that's plowing it just for them, and it just felt very awkward. So we thought that we were doing the right thing just coming for our first stop here. We certainly didn't want to proceed without having a conversation with you.
I mean, me personally, I don't see any reason the town keeping that little place in yellow.
Yeah.
I thought this one came up and it was specifically not recommended to go up for sale. This is one of the parcels. this year because of how it was recently voted to be rezoned.
Right.
The type of developments that can go in there.
No, that's not the one. The one that they wanted to sell was, I think, number 7. That they were trying to buy back from the, well, maybe you're right. You might be right.
I thought the comments that came up was because of the type of development that can go in there, the town in the future, maybe that space for some type of infrastructure.
Yeah, I think the lady law said they're not paying taxes and she tried to buy it back this year.
Yeah, it was probably, I think I saw the transfer on the tax card I gave about 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
I would say pursue what you're pursuing, and then come to us after and see, it's too.
I know when you went down the line, it has no problems, it's not detrimental to the project, it just leaves an awkward piece left over afterwards that I probably have the benefit of a more on-the-ground, boots-on visual look at this parcel of land. And while I understand on paper in a change of zoning, it may appear that there's something there, it appears to be a very low-lying, flat, wet area. It's really the only interest that we have in it is really just a question from the town that it's a maintenance one, whether you want to take another 2,200 feet of town road or whether you want to leave it with the development. That's really what the question is. It doesn't add anything of some substance.
Yeah, and I think some of the concerns that came up was because the way it's been zoned, apartments can go in there, condos and things of that nature. And if down the road, the townspeople ever voted to do any type of town water infrastructure, it could be some type of pumping station that has to be to get to that side of town. And I know all the recommendations that we got, I don't remember anyone advocating for getting rid of the piece of that, specifically because of how it was rezoned. Sure. We knew that there could be some very large.
Yeah, I just don't want to leave you out with what I see with the money.
No, you don't have anything. You don't have to, it's giving you out.
I know the town's had a lot of hard times with private roads that are started as private and slowly are lowered in. So I don't know if the ZBA would have a purview grant clearance for a road.
It's not the way of the road.
I think it's the planning board, and we have not recommended any reduction in the standards of town roads because there have been so many occasions where people put forth a warrant article that have what was always promised to be a private road.
Yeah.
And they just throw a warrant out there, see if it'll stick, and they can get it back.
For clarity, there's no deviation in the standard to which it's built. It's purely the width of that platted right.
Well, it's both. It's the width and it's how it's built.
Typically, even on a private road, they're required to be built to town standards. So our interest is not in lessening.
What we have in the past has come around and been a problem. So I think
I'm great with it. I just don't want to close down the process and have you guys go, hey, that's really silly.
and then from your aspect, I think you should keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, it doesn't do the work. The outcome of tonight's meeting, it's more a courtesy stop because you're in the center of something else.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's do it. Thank you. Liaison, public comment number 1.
I do want to say, I do think it's a smart choice to utilize the buildings as our basis for solar versus the landfill. One of my predecessor's concerns and mine as well is if we have a problem with the landfill and we have a bunch of solar panels in the way, it's going to be a big problem. So I think this is the right answer. That being said, because the maintenance of these buildings is our responsibility, I would like to be involved in the process of how these will be attached and be maintained and what kind of maintenance is involved beyond their contract. I know there is washing involved of the solar panels from time to time, and, but I do think that is the way forward. The carport we recently put up at the PD, we situated so that it is south-facing and so that it can hold solar panels. So I think in the long term, having these things on the building is the way to go.
Okay, before you leave, do you have an extra recycle bin that we can use here at Town Hall per week?
Sure, you got $67. Or what we charge you.
And I'll ask you a question, we have a lot of plans to get rid of. Would you rather recycle or trash them?
We should definitely recycle those.
Okay.
Because under our new contract, we get credit for.
Oh, I thought we did.
Yeah. Free pizza.
If you let me know where it is, I'll pick it up sometime before next Wednesday. Just because we just had recycling picked up, so it'll be next Wednesday before they come again.
Okay.
So I'll just get.
And if you need an extra one just for this specific project, we can.
And then we'll give it back, because we don't have a place to put it anyway, just for the day, for a couple of days.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you. Liaison reports. Chris?
Everything that they voted on, citizens petition warrant articles, and I'm gonna address one of those tonight. I'm trying to fix the two that are very similar.
Did they decide, put the vote counts on those?
So, no, so language came back from, legal, I think it might have been from the New Hampshire Municipal Association, that stated that because they only seem to grant that, their opinion was they only seem to grant that authority to specific entities such as the Board of Selectmen, the Budget Committee, and the schools. And so the legal's opinion was that the omission of not mentioning it in the legal statute was purposeful and with intent. So then that's how it should be viewed, that it was an intentionally omitted to say that it's not eligible. But I still feel as though I've heard of other towns having that vote tally.
Because they haven't had it, what's the big deal? It doesn't mean, it might give them the legal to not do it, but why wouldn't you do it in the whole laws?
Yeah, and I guess so the planning board voted to rescind their recommendation for it to be on there because based off of that legal advice, because they didn't want to be contrary to what the legal advice gave. But I mean, I've always been in it, and I said, well, I'll vote in favor, I'll vote the way the legal advised us, but it's contrary to what I want. Because I want the vote tally. I always think it's important to know whether it was unanimous or a split board on any vote tally. Because I think there are a lot of people that they do not read warrant articles. They go right to the end and see recommended, not recommended, they see the vote tally, and sometimes the vote tally can cause them to go back and read it.
Totally agree with you. Didn't we vote to include the tallies on the ballot?
I thought we did too.
I don't think we
We do look at that, because if the vote is approved, then we do it. Got it. How's that sound? Because it's not rocket science here.
Well, I think their concern was is after getting that legal advice that if any warrant article passes or doesn't pass, it could be subject to challenge if there's a legal.
And you know what?
Precedence that
Every vote taken is subject to challenge, number one. And I'd rather be challenged because I didn't do what the voters wanted, as opposed to that I did do what the voters wanted. Let's look it up. And
if we already taken that vote, then I think we should go forward with that. But I would much rather prefer to be on it.
I'd rather go to the side of the.
I don't see how giving people more information is a bad thing.
Exactly. And you know what? We got 3 attorneys, you can have 15 opinions.
Yeah.
So, there we go.
That's all.
Attorneys in the room.
Speaking of legal, there's no meetings for conservation or HDC, but it was an email, as we know, Drummond Woodson sent out the legal interpretation for HDC's authority. I thought it was pretty involved. I thought it answered all the questions. I know a couple of members still have questions and are going to be asking, email when, asking the chair to have the attorney attend so they can ask questions. I know I'm just asking before I report back to them. I believe it's the will of the board that we got the interpretation. If they want to do something, they can do it on their own or, in their budget. But I'm asking, what is the will of the board?
The will of, in my opinion, we've done due diligence to give them some advice, done. We're not gonna pit one board against another board and spend money on an attorney, not gonna happen. I think that's ridiculous. They may not like what the attorney said, I'm sorry that some individuals don't, but that doesn't mean, if they want to pursue it as individual private citizens, that's their choice, not as a sitting board.
I talked to the attorney and she said this is a very rare thing that one board challenges another board within the town. You know, it's just unheard of.
My interpretation is they've been doing this, and they, you know, and they have a hard time realizing that they got away with it so long. It's kind of like this, you know, speeding. You don't speed when you get caught, you're not happy about it. It's like, you know, it's like, so. We got all right.
Ellie, anything?
No, I don't.
Just the, Saturday, the, hearing for the warrant articles and the notification of revenues. That's
9 o'clock?
9 o'clock, town hall. Nothing else?
Before we start reviewing the warrant articles, can we skip that and come back for a minute? Decision on the trash bill at Seacamp.
I would say we should do the same thing we did to everyone else. If he wants to buy it for $687, we should be doing it.
Yeah, I think we did.
I thought we were-
Yeah, I thought we were the consensus that we would allow them, they had to purchase.
We did, but we also said we were gonna check the property card, and the property card shows it with an illegal apartment.
We think the others are legal apartments too. They're not illegal, they're legal apartments.
So do you want to approach him or do you want me to?
No, I think
Thank you.
Okay. Well, you want to go right to warrant articles?
You have anything else? All of them?
Yeah.
The decision on that.
What is it, current assessment? That's what
The sheets, it's on that sheet.
Yeah, isn't it?
505,900, 5 million.
505, and he wants to drop it to 498.
Yeah.
A reduction of 55,000, which would result in about $1,200 in taxes.
Yeah.
The original request is to drop it to 2,042,344.
I'd say this one's more reasonable.
Well, I'd say, go to the assessor and ask the assessor what he says.
This is
This is after application from our assessor and a representative of the taxpayer.
And then I guess they were gonna challenge it if we didn't do this, and they're dropping that challenge if we
Yeah,
grant
I'm
this.
comfortable with this, especially coming from the assessor, so if we want, I'll make a motion that we accept, the PTLA recommendation for the reduction in the assessment, to be adjusted to $4,998,000.
I'll second that.
Discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I'm voting in favor, but I still am opposed to it, because every business in town that doesn't have a good year could go for assessment. I'm totally outraged if they even pursued it. But I will support the compromise.
You want to talk about candidates night before we get into the,
I do. Both Ellen and Tammy have asked that, you know, we should plan a candidates night. We've got several positions open, both in the town and the school. And there's always a challenge in doing this ahead of time, so that we don't forget our colleagues on the school committee. And so I'm suggesting that the last Monday in February,
27th?
which is the 27th, is normally a department head meeting. So I would suggest that we leave the morning for the department head meeting and hold the candidates night that Monday night. It shouldn't be in any conflict with the school board, budget committee, select board.
Shouldn't be with anybody.
It allows the opportunity for Adam to televise the evening session as well, so that people at home can hear it. And then when Tammy signs people up downstairs in the clerk's office, she can say, candidates night will be held at Monday, February 27th, and commencing at 6:30 to 7 o'clock.
Sounds like a work of Solomon.
Thank you. Does that sound okay to everybody?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, done.
What time of day?
You wanna start at 6:30? I mean, it's up to you, it doesn't matter to me. Let's say 6:30. On the 27th. Then it gives them a couple of hours, and then half an hour going down at the end, and be done by 9 o'clock.
So you still want the department heads meeting in the morning?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Now, while we're speaking of department department heads not to shoot too far ahead. But on March 27th is a department head meeting. And what I would like to do that day is invite all the committee heads in also and have a little speech on procedures, writing purchase orders, getting sworn in.
That's awesome.
All the stuff that we've been eliminating to get everybody on the same page, and by then we'll have the election over. We'll know who's on every board, everything, but I want to kind of block that window and start getting the word out to those committee heads because they normally don't come.
Good idea.
And if they can't come, then a representative that is on their board or on their committee, not somebody that's not on the committee.
Okay, good job.
Okay, so, warrant articles? Be honest with you, I haven't read this. I don't know if we're gonna sit in.
I just updated it today because I just got the language for the zoning.
And we voted with our positions on it today, or we may be Saturday?
We're voting Saturday.
That's Saturday.
Okay.
This is just so you see what's on there.
Okay.
So can we just read, study it, and vote Saturday?
I think that's a good idea.
So are the duplicate articles on here?
This latest version, I took one out that
Okay.
maybe you need to address.
So I'd like to bring that up, so I was the petitioner of two similar warrant articles, or building warrant articles that regarded building permits around construction of sheds. The intention of the article was to not require a building permit for sheds under 168 square feet, and also allow them to be placed within 5 feet of the setbacks on the rear and side boundaries. At one point in time, we got some information that the language could be illegal. Rich got one answer, and I got a different answer from DRA.
Susan said no one talked.
And then Susan called, and they said, we didn't talk to anyone from there, and Rich and I both called and spoke with different representatives. But since so I made a backup article that just removed the language of not requiring a permit, and I explained to all the people that signed that petition that it was only designed as a backup article if it was shown that the initial article was deemed illegal and couldn't be on the ballot. So to not have the two articles that are very similar that I think would conflict with each other should they both pass, which would be an issue. I advised all the people that signed that secondary article that if the other one was found not proven to be legal before the vote, that I would remove the secondary one. So I just wanted to officially, I don't even know what our process is for officially moving that, but really myself and the people that signed it could only be the aggrieved parties in this, and I made it very clear to them that this was only a backup should the other article not be able to be placed on the ballot.
I think, in all reasons, when I said withdraw it, that seems a reasonable thing to be able to do, to withdraw it, as long as you had the permission of the other petitioners on the article. So, do you want to vote for us to acknowledge that you're withdrawing it?
I think it would be appropriate, I would obviously abstain from it.
Okay, I will move that we withdraw the duplicate article, being presented by Mr. Bashaw and company. So that the only one appears in the ballot.
Discussion?
I understand your intent, and you are a petitioner. I just don't want to set up any procedure for if this happens again, but I do trust that you did contact people. And I understand that the
contact was with them when they were signing and explaining to them that the intention wasn't that too.
You also put on social media that was the purpose.
Correct.
So I understand, I just don't want to make sure that we understand that we're not setting any policies and we're getting certain plans.
That's what's being said.
There's a recommendation, I guess there's some language out there that people may want to know for the future, that if you are going to do a citizen's petition article, you can actually put language in there that allows the primary petitioner to withdraw it at any time.
Withdraw or change.
Or change or amend it as needed.
So what I can say, this should be a learning lesson for everyone out there, that this is that procedure. The way you write it is to have it written that way, so that anyone knows, because we have different issues with citizen petitions with that.
Okay.
Vote. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Extension.
No, abstention, me too.
You're abstaining also? Okay.
302. Okay.
Public comment number 2. Correspondence, everything. Did I miss anything?
Everybody goes
We want to appointment to the recreation department, don't we want to appoint them in? I don't know the person.
I would say, yeah.
Her name is on there, she's been on it before.
She has?
I don't remember discussing anything when I was there.
No, it's there.
You got one you want to discuss?
I was concerned with the fire department for new people. Just as to versus the grant that's out there for the fire people.
I think we'll discuss that Saturday. Okay. Because then they sway each side.
Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is the recreation Bonnie Miller.
Yep.
Did everybody get this letter thing that Susan did? It was in your attachments last week.
I sent it in an email. I didn't have
All right, I'll talk about that when I'm running
it.
to.
Yeah, that's, if you just want to take a look at it in your free time.
I guess that's it. I'll take a motion to go into non-public.
So moved.
Second.
Legal contract.
We have a legal and personnel, Joe, issue personnel, Joe?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 2 items.
Oh, we also need to talk about this with Joel. We can do that
We
now.
have to vote on the veterans grant thing, too.
Yeah, that's just
Oh, we
signing.
put that out of the non-public.
Yeah, but it's really just signing and stuff.
We got one more.
But the still they sent us the one, I guess.
Or, I'm sorry. Oh, it's a warrant article that we had to put in there, or was it?
Okay.
So all those in favor of non-public, say aye. Aye. Noes? Motion carries.
I, do not disagree.